There is only one Blast Longsword we are able to obtain in Monster Hunter Wilds right now. In this build guide, I'm going to show you how to build it, as well as how to build a set around it that outputs really good DPS. This build is a lot of fun, and with it being your only blast option, you might want to try it out regardless. Make sure to stick around to the end to see the full build in action. So first things first, you'll probably notice when you go to the smithy, there are 0 blast sword options. What this means is the only possible way you can run a blast longsword setup is by crafting an Artian weapon. Now, I actually crafted mine with only 2 affinity parts and 1 attack. I think it might be a little ideal to craft it with the 15% affinity, but we do end up capping at 100 anyway, so it's not too big of a deal. Naturally, you'll want to combine 3 blast parts in order to maximize the elemental blast damage. And in terms of upgrades, you'll actually want pretty much this. 2 sharpness, guarantees you stay in white sharpness for the majority of each phase. 2 element, just to make our blast hit harder. And then for me, that last attack boost probably should be a crit, but once again, we're going to max out on crit regardless. So the attack boost plus 5 is okay. As far as rolling the perfect Artian weapon, this is pretty damn close. Even if it could be slightly better, the difference would be marginal. So I'm pretty confident this is basically a god roll. In terms of armor, what I've landed on is 2 parts Guardian Arcveld armor and 2 parts regular Arcveld armor. The headpiece naturally comes with flare and part breaker. We get an additional flare from the mail. The arms have convert element, but what's really good here is the 2 slots and 1 slot, which I'll get into in a little bit. The waist coming with weakness exploit 2 and a couple 1 slots. And the Guardian Arcveld legs give us an additional weakness exploit and an elemental absorption, which arm we use the exploit charm to max out our weakness exploit. So now let me talk about decos because these are quite important for the build. First and foremost, on our longsword, we get 3 slots because it's an Artian weapon, which is super strong. First and foremost, we want to maximize blast attack. This is going to make the status build up much faster, meaning our longsword is going to explode more often. And that equals more damage, so 100% this is a priority. Secondly, a skill that makes this build so much more potent is critical status. Effectively what this skill does is whenever we land a critical hit, which we'll be doing a lot, it increases the rate in which our status builds up. This includes blast. Effectively, the more we crit, the more we blast. The more we blast, more damage. So these 2 decorations in tandem with each other means we proc the status very often. And in order for us to help with this proc, we use a critical die gem for an extra 12% affinity. Again, this will help us reach the cap. However, if we did build the Artian weapon in the first place with 3 parts of affinity, we probably wouldn't need this. Even so, it just makes the crits way more consistent. Again, your secondary weapon doesn't matter. I happen to be running just another blast sword and shield on this slot, nothing important. For the helm we run an additional piece of flare, just means wounds proc more often. You'll see throughout the armor we have 3 sheath jewels placed in the 1 slot that just gives us quick sheath 3 so we can iron slash more often. We managed to slot in a chain jewel which gives us the burst skill. Essentially the more we hit in a short space of time we get a damage boost. We run 3 mighty jewels in total across the arms and the legs. This gives us 30% affinity during uptime, again helping us reach that max crit so that our critical status jewel procs way more often. And then I've just got a couple pieces of dragon resist because why not? Our dragon resist is actually quite low, and if you're farming endgame stuff like Arcveld, dragon resist is very useful in survivability. So there you can see all of our skills on the right hand side. One of the really cool things about this is we get both of the Arcveld healing skills. So one will heal us whenever we pop a wound, and being as we have flare slotted into the build which creates wounds more easily, we should get that healing quite often. And the regular Arcveld set basically just means we heal after we do a certain amount of damage. So not only is this build really strong, but it's also quite tanky and you'll survive many hits. The Corrupted Mantle is the most ideal. This gives us additional affinity and helps us get up to the 100% crit. So yeah, all in all, the only way I could improve this set to my knowledge is if I recrafted the longsword with 3 affinity pieces instead of 2 affinity and 1 attack. Or at the very least, if that last attack boost upgrade we got was affinity, that would also solve the issue. And I sound like a broken record, but either way, we're getting maximum crit during uptime, so it doesn't particularly matter. That's why I say it might be a god roll, because if anything, with 100% crit, that extra little bit of attack boost we have on this particular sword could be bis. Now the critical status gem does also mean we can run this exact same build, but with poison, paralysis, or sleep. However, we would need to change some of the other decorations and pieces around to maximise damage on those sets. Let me know if you want to see a build on that. As has become tradition with these build guides, let's go take on our monster with this weapon so I can really show you how much DPS it's capable of outputting. The 2 key things you'll want to pay attention to is 1, how often we critical hit, and 2, how often our blast goes off. As we described earlier on, getting critical hits essentially means our blast will proc more often. And when it does proc, it does some big chunky damage, and blasting this game really knocks the monster back and almost gives you even more DPS opening from its fling. So pay attention to that. Let me know if you end up trying to build, how you got on, and if there are any ways you think we can improve it, please let me know. I'm going to let you enjoy the rest of the gameplay. Thanks for watching.